Setting up outside, and the pitch is hit a long way into right field.
Get out!
And here at the
play at Florida.
High towering drive left field. On back. There's a base hit into center field. Johnson scores. Game is tied at 1.
Big guy right here.
That ball hit deep into left center field. Way back. Fantier looks up.
Pitch, broken bat, and a fly ball left field. This is hit deep. Moving back to the wall, Knobloch, a broken bat, home run.
A shot. Look at this. It almost took his shoulder off. That should be a base hit.
In the sweltering summer heat of Columbus, Georgia, where cracked sidewalks baked under the southern sun and baseball diamonds served as the proving grounds of young dreams, a boy was quietly forging a destiny. It was 1968, the year Frank Edward Thomas Jr. was born. No one could have predicted that this child, born into humble beginnings, would one day become one of the most feared sluggers in the history of Major League Baseball. Frank's upbringing wasn't adorned with fame or comfort. His father, Frank Sr., worked tirelessly to support the family, instilling in his children a work ethic rooted in discipline, pride, and accountability. The Thomas household was rich, not in material wealth, but in values that would shape a titan. From an early age, Frank absorbed the lessons of perseverance, lessons that would later become the bedrock of his legend. Even as a boy, Frank stood apart. Towering over his classmates, he possessed an innate athleticism that was impossible to ignore. Where most children saw baseball as a game, Frank saw it as an opportunity. His swing was already refined, almost eerily precise, effortless, fluid, yet devastating. Coaches began to take notice. By the time he reached high school, he was already something of a local myth. At Columbus High School, Frank didn't just play, he dominated. On the baseball field, he crushed pitches with a mix of violence and grace. On the football field, he bulldozed defenders with equal ease. His stats blurred the line between reality and fantasy, prompting a swarm of recruiters to pursue him for both sports. Yet despite the allure of football glory, Frank's heart belonged to the game of baseball. There was something poetic in the crack of the bat, the precision of the swing, and the battle of wits at the plate. He had found his arena. Frank's next chapter took shape at Auburn University, where he would further sharpen his craft. At Auburn, he was more than a standout. He was a force of nature. His collegiate numbers were eye-popping, his presence undeniable. But Frank wasn't just chasing fame. He pursued a degree in business, understanding the fragility of athletic careers. That dual focus, brawn and brain, would become a theme throughout his journey. Scouts, already intrigued, began attending his games en masse. They weren't just watching, they were witnessing the birth of a generational talent. Frank didn't just swing for the fences, he dissected pitchers like a surgeon. Every at-bat was a chess match, and he was always 5 moves ahead. When the 1989 MLB draft arrived, the Chicago White Sox didn't hesitate. With the 7th overall pick, they selected Frank Thomas, a decision that would reshape the franchise. Chicago, long starved for a hero, had just found its savior. Frank wasn't merely drafted, he was chosen to lead. The minor leagues offered little resistance. Frank tore through each level with cold efficiency, demolishing eras and leaving coaches and pitchers equally stunned. He studied the game obsessively, memorizing tendencies and exploiting weaknesses with clinical precision. It was no longer a matter of if he would dominate in the majors, it was when. That when came in 1990. Frank Thomas made his major league debut and immediately announced his arrival with thunder. Standing 6'5" and weighing 240 pounds, he cut an imposing figure in the batter's box. But it wasn't just his size that rattled pitchers, it was his approach. He refused to swing at bad pitches, he hunted for mistakes. And when he found one, the ball didn't just leave the park, it disappeared into legend. By the early 90s, Frank Thomas had become the most feared hitter in baseball. In 1993, he unleashed a season for the ages, a .317 batting average, 41 home runs, and 128 RBIs. That year, he earned his first American League MVP award. A year later, he did it again, batting .353 with 38 home runs in the strike-shortened 1994 season. He became only the 9th player in history to win back-to-back MVPs, joining immortals like Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio. But Frank's greatness went far beyond raw numbers. His mastery of the strike zone was surgical. He wasn't just waiting for his pitch, he was manipulating pitchers into giving it to him. He led the league in walks and on-base percentage multiple times, blending brute power with elite discipline. While others relied on instincts, Frank relied on intellect. His approach transformed how modern hitters trained. Then came adversity. The late 1990s tested Frank's resilience. Injuries, including a serious foot ailment, began to slow his once massive frame, but he didn't fold. He adapted. Where others faded, Frank evolved, still launching home runs, still terrifying pitchers, even when he could no longer run the bases like he used to. His bat remained lethal, his mind sharper than ever. By the time the White Sox won the World Series in 2005, Frank had spent most of the season sidelined by injury, but he remained the spiritual backbone of the franchise. Though he played only 34 games that year, his fingerprints were all over that championship run, etched into the DNA of the team he helped build from mediocrity into champions. In the final seasons of his career, Frank continued to defy expectations. Suiting up for the Oakland Athletics and later the Toronto Blue Jays, he added to his home run total and cemented his legacy as one of the most consistent power hitters the game had ever seen. His final career numbers were staggering: 521 home runs, 1,704 RBIs, a .301 batting average, and a .419 on-base percentage. He was a 5-time All-Star, a 4-time Silver Slugger winner, and the only player in history to hit over 300 with more than 100 walks, 100 runs. Frank Thomas wasn't just a slugger, he was a revolution. In 2008, after nearly 2 decades of brilliance, Frank announced his retirement. But his story was far from over. He transitioned into broadcasting, mentoring, and business with the same thoughtfulness that defined his playing career. His voice became one of clarity and insight in the baseball world, guiding the next generation with the wisdom of a man who had lived the grind and triumphed through it. Then in 2014 came the crowning moment. Frank Thomas was inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame on his first ballot, receiving 83.7% of the vote. His emotional speech at Cooperstown was a tribute not only to his own journey, but to his family, coaches, teammates, and the fans of Chicago who embraced him as one of their own. Frank Thomas's legacy is more than numbers or accolades. It's in the way he approached the game with intelligence, heart, and an unshakable belief in doing things the right way. He didn't chase headlines. He earned them. He didn't cut corners. He built a career brick by brick, swing by swing, game by game. Today, his name stands among baseball's titans. But more importantly, his story endures as a blueprint for greatness built not on shortcuts, but on substance. Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt, was more than a nickname. It was a statement, a declaration that through power, patience, and a relentless pursuit of mastery, one man could redefine an entire era of baseball. And he did.
Outside, and the pitch is hit.
There's a base hit into center field.
Big guy right here. That ball hit deep into left center field.
Broken bat and a fly ball left field. This is hit deep.
A shot. Look at this. It almost took his shoulder off. That should be a base hit.